In a world where loyalty is earned through blood and power is wielded in the shadows or on roaring highways. Two legendary forces, Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels, stand at opposite ends of the spectrum. But who truly dominates the underworld, the silent puppeteers or the kings of chaos? In a world where power always comes with inherent dangers, two names, Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels, emerge as opposing symbols. To understand their formation and operational philosophies, we must delve into their deep histories, where societal circumstances and cultural upheavals shape them in two entirely different directions. Blood Family Mafia originated from Sicily, Italy, a land known for centuries of power struggles. In this region, weak local governance and social injustice forced people to turn to communal organizations for self-protection. This was the premise for the birth of mafia families. In their early days, mafia families were not just criminal organizations but also informal institutions that protected the people's rights, resisting oppression from feudal forces and even the church. However, over time, their growing power led these organizations to shift from protection to exploitation and control. When Italians migrated to America in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they brought with them not only their traditions and culture but also their mafia organizational system. The Blood Family Mafia, evolving from small groups, quickly became a formidable force during the Prohibition era in America. Mafia families capitalized on the opportunities presented by the alcohol ban to engage in bootlegging, amassing enormous profits and consolidating power. But what truly set BFM apart was not only their money-making ability but also how they maintained a closed family structure. In a perilous world, they prioritized loyalty above all, treating it as a vital principle for survival. In contrast, the birth of Hell's Angels is tied to an entirely different societal backdrop. After World War II, American veterans returning from the battlefield felt alienated in a society undergoing transformation. The harrowing years on the battlefield made it difficult for them to reintegrate into everyday life. Seeking camaraderie and a sense of belonging, many joined motorcycle clubs. Among these, Hell's Angels emerged as a symbol of rebellion and a thirst for freedom. Initially a small group in California, they quickly grew into a global movement with thousands of members. Hell's Angels did not operate as a family like BFM but relied on brotherhood and camaraderie. This spirit reflected their ethos, personal freedom, coupled with a readiness to defend one another when needed. The image of roaring motorcycles, leather jackets adorned with the winged skull logo, and a lifestyle defying all norms turned Hell's Angels into a cultural icon. However, this rebellion also made them a target for both the media and law enforcement. The contrast between these two organizations lies not only in their origins but also in their core philosophies. Blood Family Mafia values stability, inheritance, and absolute control. They believe power should not be flaunted but exist silently, instilling fear from the shadows. Conversely, Hell's Angels take pride in their openness. They do not hide their power, instead, they assert it through a strong street presence and bold behavior. However, both share a commonality, leveraging societal circumstances for growth. Blood Family Mafia thrived amidst the chaos of immigration and the instability of American society during Prohibition. Meanwhile, Hell's Angels rose in a different context, where post-war American society failed to address veterans' psychological needs. One might ask, do circumstances shape organizations? Or do organizations adapt to their circumstances? This question invites reflection when comparing these two forces. Interestingly, both Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels have not only survived major historical upheavals but also leveraged them as springboards to expand their influence. One operates covertly, manipulating from the shadows with secrecy and hidden networks. The other dominates the streets with overt strength. Despite their differences, both prove that in the world of crime, the ability to adapt to the times is the key to survival. But does the difference in their formation and philosophy lead to distinct approaches to power and territorial expansion? To answer this question, we must delve deeper into how these two organizations operated during critical stages of their development. Only then will the complete picture of their opposition become clear. When discussing influence and scope of operations, The differences between the Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels lie not only in their methods of expansion but also in how each organization builds power based on their inherent strengths. One operates in the shadows, wielding secrecy as a weapon, while the other flaunts its strength through bold public actions. This stark contrast has shaped their approaches to territorial control, influence expansion, and power preservation. From its inception, the Blood Family Mafia understood that long-term control could not rely solely on violence. Instead, they chose to deeply embed themselves within social structures, particularly in the realms of economics and politics. In the United States, where the organization thrived, major cities like New York, Chicago, and Las Vegas became hubs of their operations. Notably, they didn't confine themselves to illegal activities such as drug trafficking, gambling, or extortion but also ventured into legitimate enterprises. Construction companies, restaurants, banks, and even real estate fell under their control, forming an enormous network that facilitated money laundering and provided stable financial resources. One of the Blood Family Mafia's greatest strengths is its ability to cultivate and maintain relationships with the powerful elite. They exploit the vulnerabilities of influential figures in society, police officers, lawyers, and politicians, turning them into tools for the organization's benefit. While other gangs focus primarily on physical territory, the Blood Family Mafia extended their dominance into intangible but highly influential areas like law and politics. This strategy not only shielded them from government scrutiny but also created a protective barrier against external threats. In contrast, Hell's Angels built their influence on a strong and public presence. From the United States, they rapidly expanded to Canada, Europe, and even Australia. Their local chapters, independent branches, operated as centers of power while adhering to a unified set of rules. Each chapter not only represented the strength of the organization but also served as evidence of their relentless expansion. Hell's Angels made no effort to conceal their nature. Their presence was always visible. From roaring motorcycle convoys on highways to the biker events they organized or attended. This visibility not only built their reputation but also asserted their control in the eyes of the community. When Hell's Angels moved into an area, other criminal groups often hesitated to confront them, knowing that direct conflict with this organization was unwise. However, Hell's Angels' activities weren't limited to illicit operations like drug trafficking, extortion, or counterfeit goods production. They skillfully leveraged biker culture to broaden their influence. Events they organized were not merely gatherings for members but also opportunities to attract outsiders, turning them into allies or supporters. This blend of violence and cultural appeal transformed Hell's Angels into one of the most influential biker organizations globally. The contrasting methods of expansion reflect their core philosophies. Blood Family Mafia prefers to control from within, subtly manipulating systems to achieve their goals. In contrast, Hell's Angels are unafraid to use violence and spectacle to assert their position. One represents sophistication and persistence, while the other embodies directness and dominance. Despite their differing approaches, both face similar challenges. Blood Family Mafia, no matter how sophisticated, cannot entirely evade law enforcement attention. Major crackdowns, such as Operation Pizza Connection, revealed the scale of their operations, forcing them to adapt and restructure. Hell's Angels, with their public-facing activities, frequently became targets of suppression campaigns and prolonged investigations. These events not only harmed their reputation but also embroiled them in costly legal battles. The influence and operational scope of these two organizations raise a critical question. Does true power lie in silent control or overt dominance? One builds an empire through unseen networks, difficult to detect, while the other rules with a visible and intimidating presence. This fundamental divergence fuels debates about the effectiveness and sustainability of each approach. Reflecting on this, it becomes clear that both organizations skillfully exploit their strengths to expand their power. But is this difference in approach the key determinant of their survival in an increasingly complex world? The answer will become clearer as we delve deeper into their organizational structures and how each leverages them to maintain internal strength. The journey of discovery is far from over, And what lies ahead will undoubtedly shed more light on the unknown aspects of both organizations. An organization seeking long-term survival in the world of crime must have a clear structure that aligns with its operating philosophy. Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels, despite their differences in operational methods, have both built unique organizational systems that have allowed them to maintain power for decades. However, their contrasting approaches to internal management underscore the fundamental opposition between these two forces. The Blood Family Mafia is a quintessential example of a pyramid-structured organization. Power is tightly concentrated at the top, with all major decisions made through a strict system that demands absolute loyalty. The leader of the organization, often referred to as the Godfather, is not only the supreme authority but also the architect of the organization's overarching strategy. The Godfather does not directly involve himself in daily criminal activities but exercises control through a network of loyal subordinates. Directly beneath the Godfather are the Capos, who lead smaller groups within the organization. Each capo is responsible for managing a specific territory or operational sector, ranging from drug trafficking and protection rackets to money laundering through legitimate businesses. This system is further supported by consigliere, or strategic advisors, who provide counsel and assist the Godfather in making difficult decisions. Below them are the soldiers, the members who execute orders and ensure smooth operations. The strength of this structure lies in its stability and high level of discipline. Every member clearly understands their position within the system and knows that any act of betrayal will be met with the ultimate price, not just for themselves but for their families as well. To ensure absolute loyalty, every new member undergoes a special initiation ritual, often involving a blood oath and challenges to prove their dedication. This creates a tightly knit network that is exceptionally difficult to break. In contrast, the structure of Hell's Angels is not as centralized as that of the Blood Family Mafia. Instead of operating under a unified power system, they function in a decentralized model, with each chapter, a local branch, operating as an independent entity. Each chapter has its own leadership team, including roles like president, vice president, and treasurer. These leaders are responsible for managing local activities, from organizing meetings to handling internal conflicts. Although chapters operate independently, they remain closely connected through a shared set of rules known as the Constitution. These rules govern everything from resolving disputes between members to the process of recruiting new ones. This is why, despite their decentralized nature, Hell's Angels maintain consistency in their actions and philosophy. They also have unique initiation rituals for new members. But unlike the Blood Family Mafia, loyalty here stems from a brotherhood spirit rather than blood ties. Once a member of Hell's Angels, you are considered an inseparable part of this family. One intriguing aspect of Hell's Angels' structure is its flexibility and high adaptability. Since chapters operate independently, the organization can quickly adjust strategies to counter threats or seize opportunities. If one chapter encounters trouble, other chapters can provide support without disrupting the entire system. This is a feature that the Blood Family Mafia, with its centralized structure, finds difficult to match. However, neither system is without flaws. The centralized structure of the Blood Family Mafia provides stability but makes the organization vulnerable when its leader is arrested or betrays the group. History has shown many instances where godfathers of the Blood Family Mafia were prosecuted and sentenced, leading to internal power struggles and weakening the organization. On the other hand, the decentralized nature of Hell's Angels grants them flexibility, but it also risks losing control when a chapter operates outside the shared rules, tarnishing the organization's reputation. Another notable point is how these two organizations handle internal conflicts. For the Blood Family Mafia, disputes are resolved secretly, often through closed-door meetings among top leaders. When necessary, harsh measures are implemented to enforce discipline. In contrast, Hell's Angels often hold open meetings to address issues, allowing all members to have a voice. This creates a more democratic environment but also poses the risk of division if members cannot reach consensus. When comparing the structures of these two organizations, it becomes clear how their operational philosophies differ. One prioritizes stability and continuity, while the other values flexibility and autonomy. The question arises: which approach is more sustainable in an increasingly complex criminal world? The Blood Family Mafia may maintain long-term stability, but its reliance on a few key individuals makes it vulnerable. Conversely, Hell's Angels, with their decentralized nature, can easily adapt but may struggle to maintain unity when faced with significant challenges. These questions not only open up avenues for debate but also highlight the fundamental differences in how each organization operates. As we move forward, we will explore how they build and protect their reputations, key factors in determining their status in the underworld. Will the enigmatic and subtle fear inspired by the Blood Family Mafia or the bold flamboyance of Hell's Angels gain the upper hand? This journey has much more to uncover. Reputation is not just a factor of survival but a strategic weapon in the underworld. For the Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels, reputation is not merely the result of their actions but also a means of maintaining power and instilling fear. However, the ways these two organizations build and protect their reputations are entirely different, reflecting their distinct natures and operational philosophies. The Blood Family Mafia is renowned for its mystique. Their reputation is built on chilling tales of internal purges, traitors who disappear without a trace, and families quietly erased. These stories are not always substantiated, but their ambiguity only amplifies the fear they evoke. Their silence is not just a tactic but a clear message. Anyone daring to challenge them will never know what to expect. This is an invisible yet highly effective form of power that makes enemies tremble even before any actual action is taken. The reputation of the Blood Family Mafia is further solidified by their ability to conceal power within legitimate operations. They don't need public displays to prove their strength, as real power lies in manipulating larger forces. A construction project, a bank, or even a high-ranking official could be under their control without anyone realizing it. This evokes both admiration and unease about their ability to distort reality. For the Blood Family Mafia, fear doesn't stem from direct presence but from the uncertainty of where they are, what they're doing, and what they control. Hell's Angels, on the other hand, take an entirely opposite approach to building their reputation: bold and public displays. Unlike the Blood Family Mafia, who hide behind the curtains of power, Hell's Angels assert their strength through unmistakable and vivid imagery. A convoy of roaring motorcycles on the streets, leather jackets emblazoned with the winged skull logo, and massive rallies, these are their trademarks. Hell's Angels don't just want people to know about them, they want their image to be seared into the collective memory. A notable aspect of how Hell's Angels build their reputation is their blend of violence and culture. They don't hesitate to use violence to defend their territory and honor. A clash with a rival gang or a retaliatory attack is not merely an act of defense but also a means of asserting power. Each such event quickly spreads, creating new legends of their ruthlessness and relentlessness. However, Hell's Angels are not solely about violence. They leverage biker culture to enhance their image. The biker events they host or participate in are not just gatherings but opportunities to expand their influence and recruit new members. This combination makes Hell's Angels a group that is not only feared but also highly appealing to certain communities. However, this public presence comes with risks. Due to their bold reputation, Hell's Angels frequently become targets of law enforcement and media scrutiny. Major raids or exposés of their illegal activities not only damage the organization but also place them in difficult positions when facing public criticism. On the other hand, the Blood Family Mafia, with their discreet approach, largely avoids such pressures. This raises an intriguing question: is Hell's Angels' publicity truly an advantage? Or is it a double-edged sword? Both organizations face a common challenge: how to maintain their reputations over time. For the Blood Family Mafia, the difficulty lies in sustaining an aura of invisible fear in a rapidly changing world. In an era where information can be leaked with a single click, keeping secrets is no longer as easy as it once was. For Hell's Angels, public attention and scrutiny mean they face risks of being undermined both internally and externally. Their reputation, no matter how strong, can be compromised if they fail to adapt. The contrast between these two organizations in building and protecting their reputations leads to a provocative question. Which is more intimidating? A secretive organization whose true reach and control are unknown? Or a bold entity whose overt strength commands caution at first sight? This question not only illuminates the essence of each organization but also offers a deeper understanding of how power is truly exercised in the underworld. What we have explored is just a fragment of the larger picture of these two organizations. As we delve deeper into their long-term strategies, the story will grow even more intricate. How does the Blood Family Mafia sustain itself across generations? What will Hell's Angels do to protect their territories in an increasingly surveilled world? The answers to these questions will bring us closer to the truth about the strengths and limitations of both forces. Every criminal organization needs a strategy to survive and grow. For the Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels, the strategies of expansion and territorial control are not only means to increase power but also ways to assert their identity in the underworld. These two organizations have chosen completely different paths, reflecting their opposing approaches to power. One prioritizes subtlety and endurance, while the other emphasizes publicity and dominance. The Blood Family Mafia has long understood that power lies not only in owning territory but also in controlling critical elements of society. With this philosophy, they choose to infiltrate key industries, turning them into tools to consolidate power. Instead of directly invading new areas, they quietly establish relationships with local businesses, politicians, and officials. They offer protection to small businesses, building loyalty through services that governments cannot or will not provide. Gradually, as these relationships solidify, their influence spreads without the need for overt violence. One of the Blood Family Mafia's most important strategies is their presence in legitimate sectors. Construction companies, restaurants, and banks are not only effective tools for money laundering but also for maintaining influence. For example, by controlling major construction contracts in cities like New York, they not only profit but also gain indirect control over critical infrastructure. This allows them to protect their territory and expand their influence almost unnoticed. Hell's Angels, on the other hand, do not rely on subtlety or sophistication to expand their power. Their strategy is clear and direct. Establish a strong presence by founding new chapters in strategic locations. Each chapter is not just an independent branch but a territorial marker. Once established, a chapter becomes a hub of activity for members in the area, ensuring control over local criminal operations such as drug trafficking, extortion, and racketeering. Establishing a new chapter is not as simple as naming it or appointing leaders. Members must ensure that the area has the potential for growth and demonstrate their readiness to face any challenges. From rival gangs to police intervention, once a chapter is established, they use public presence and acts of violence to assert their power. Roaring motorcycle convoys through the streets are not just cultural symbols but a clear declaration: this area belongs to Hell's Angels. The differences in territorial control strategies between these two organizations lead to different outcomes. The Blood Family Mafia, with its discretion and careful planning, can maintain long-term control with minimal detection. However, this slow pace can become a weakness when facing urgent threats. Conversely, Hell's Angels, with their public strategy, can rapidly seize territories, but this also means they constantly face scrutiny from authorities and conflicts with rivals. Another notable aspect is how they handle challenges within their territories. The Blood Family Mafia, with its tightly organized system, often uses sophisticated measures to solve problems. They avoid public conflicts, instead employing schemes, political connections, and economic influence to eliminate adversaries. Hell's Angels, however, do not hesitate to use violence to protect their territory. Clashes with rival gangs or even local authorities are not just defensive actions but also ways to assert dominance. The question arises: which strategy is more effective in an increasingly complex world? The Blood Family Mafia may sustain long-term power through sophistication, but can they handle significant upheavals, especially with advancements in technology and law enforcement? Hell's Angels may react quickly and seize territories forcefully, but their publicity makes them vulnerable to government crackdowns. Both organizations share a common trait: flexibility and strategy, allowing them to adapt to new challenges. However, their differences in execution create their unique identities. One operates quietly but dangerously, the other is bold and direct. Both have proven that in the criminal world, there is no single way to wield power. It all depends on leveraging one's strengths to overcome limitations. This contrast invites audiences to ask, is the endurance of the Blood Family Mafia or the dominance of Hell's Angels the key to long-term survival? More importantly, in a world that changes daily, do these organizations have the strength to maintain their power in the future? These questions open a vast space for reflection, not only about these two organizations but also about the nature of power and how it operates in the harshest environments. The battle between Blood Family Mafia and Hell's Angels is more than just a tale of rivalry. It's a clash of philosophies, survival tactics, and raw power. Both have thrived in their own ways, yet their futures remain uncertain in an ever-changing world. Now, it's your turn to weigh in. Which path to power is truly unstoppable? The calculated secrecy of Blood Family Mafia or the fearless dominance of Hell's Angels? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into the fascinating world of power, crime, and influence. Let's keep the debate alive. Your voice could be the spark for the next big question.